All right, man, peace. You know, brother, sometimes in life we can make spectacles of ourselves by our presence, and sometimes we can make spectacles of ourselves by our absence. And that's the case with Mr. Kyrie Irving, who decided that he was going to miss Game 7. I believe strategically miss Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals between his Boston Celtics and LeBron James's Cleveland Cavaliers. Because I believe that there was a sneaky suspicion by Mr. Kyrie Irving that LeBron was going to find a way to win Game 7 on Boston's home court. He's experienced enough Game 7s with LeBron, and he's seen LeBron play for long enough that there is a certain level of mojo that LeBron seems to have in Game 7s where he's relatively successful, and at the very least, he tends to show out. And I think that Kyrie, being a three-dimensional thinker, decided that he was going to try to avert any form of an awkward encounter between he and LeBron, because it would have been necessary for him to walk up to LeBron and congratulate him after Game 7 if he were in the building. And if he chose to avoid that, it would have been on the front page of every newspaper. It would have been the leading segment of every sports talk show. And I think that Kyrie was smart to avoid that. So he decided that he was going to schedule a so-called nasal passage surgery right around the time of Games 5, 6, or 7, so that he would have a very suitable excuse for his absence. But anyway, you know what? They're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
But they didn't have Kyrie, so that leads me to my next topic. Moving to an interesting last night move. Kyrie Irving was not on the bench with his teammates, and Mark Jackson was not happy about it. So we take a listen.
And I don't know if anything of an emergency or any issues. Forgive me if that's the case. But in my opinion, no Kyrie Irving on the bench. He is so valuable to this franchise. So valuable to this franchise. You never know what he sees that a coach does not see.
Let me say this very quickly. Mark Jackson decided that he was going to not only attack Kyrie Irving last night, but he was going to go out of his way to do what many LeBron James super fans do, which is to attribute all credit for all success for every component of the Cleveland Cavaliers to LeBron James. When his supporting cast does not make shots, it's their fault. When they do make shots, LeBron James is hitting them with pinpoint passes. These guys are comedians for real. And is LeBron far and away the best player on that team? Absolutely. Is he the best player in the NBA? Absolutely. But every once in a while, you do have to give his teammates credit for being NBA players and being players who have a certain amount of notoriety over the course of their careers as well. As I've stated in the past, Kevin Love, even though he did not play in Game 7, is a first ballot Hall of Famer. And this narrative that many in the mainstream liberal sports media are trying to promote right now, that LeBron was able to win with an undermanned Cleveland Cavaliers team. I mean, give me a break. The Boston Celtics are missing two starters, one of which played the majority of the season. They have overwhelmed in the playoffs. They certainly have gone above and beyond in regards to what was expected of them. I did not think that they were going to get past the second round. But all in all, I think that things worked out perfectly for everyone involved. That being LeBron James, the NBA, Kyrie Irving, the Boston Celtics. The Celtics were able to get to Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals just long enough in the playoffs to create a great deal of fervor and positive energy for next season, but they were not successful enough to perpetuate this delusion that they don't need Kyrie. So it worked out perfectly for Kyrie. It worked out perfectly for LeBron. He's able to end his tenure in Cleveland, presumably on a high note of getting back to the finals with, according to the official narrative, an undermanned Cleveland Cavaliers team, even though when they made those trades at the trading deadline, everyone said that it was an improvement in regards to their roster. That's what everyone said. But as I stated, right around the time that that trade went down, it was perfect for LeBron, because not only did it improve his roster because it brought in a bunch of younger players who would just be excited to play with him, but also if they did not perform up to snuff, he could use them as an excuse. Why does it work out perfectly for the Boston Celtics as well? Because now they know who they can use as trade bait. And if I were the Boston Celtics, I'd be looking at packaging Jaylen Brown, Al Horford, and a first-round draft pick, possibly for Anthony Davis. That's what I personally would be looking at. That would be my first go-to. And if we can't get Anthony Davis, then we try to see if we can get Kawhi Leonard. But I'm going after Anthony Davis first. And of course, I'm trying to keep Kyrie. Also understand that Kyrie, this is a free agency year coming up for him. After next season, he will be an unrestricted free agent. So they are going to have to make sure that they appease Kyrie Irving, assuming that they keep him and don't try to trade him. So I really think that this whole situation has worked out perfectly for everyone involved and also for the NBA. They did not want to see an undermanned Boston Celtics team in the finals. Certainly not against the Rockets and also not against Golden State, even though I do think that there would have been a bit more enthusiasm for a Golden State Warriors versus Boston Celtics NBA Finals than a Houston Rockets versus Boston Celtics NBA Finals. That would have been a ratings disaster. Now, should Golden State win tonight, at least they can build this up as the fourth meeting of LeBron James, proverbial King David against the Goliath of the Golden State Warriors. At least they can build it up that way. And they could spend 4 or 5 games talking about how LeBron James is fighting and clawing and trying to keep things competitive despite the fact that he's undermanned and who is he going to sign with next season, blah, blah, blah. So we'll see what happens. But what occurred in the Eastern Conference really fits in perfect with what the NBA would want. They really could not have asked for anything more.
If he's just at home chilling or somewhere where it's not important, to me, that's a problem. I'd much rather have the great Kyrie Irving in the building. He's been on the bench quite a bit, but not here tonight. This is not on the bench, but this is Game 7, Mike. I want him here all the time. He's too valuable. Matter of fact, he's more important than an assistant coach to me.
Well, you know what, Mark Jackson? That's the reason why you're commentating for games and you're not coaching, and you will never be allowed to coach in the NBA again because you spend too much time trying to call people out for shit that's really not that relevant. The Boston Celtics were not going to win Game 7 in their place because Kyrie Irving was on the sideline. And I really think that he made the right move strategically, because literally it would have been a no-win situation for him if he was on the sideline in Game 7. If the Boston Celtics win, he still has to go and try to give LeBron a fake hug, and he has to deal with a series of stories and columns and news reports and sports debates about whether or not the Celtics really need him. If they lose, then he either has to approach LeBron for a very awkward hug, a fake hug, which I'm sure he does not want to be a part of, or he walks off the court and everybody's saying that he's a big baby. And LeBron ended up winning in the long run because even though Kyrie demanded a trade, LeBron is back in the finals and Kyrie's such a sourpuss about it. He wasn't even man enough to approach LeBron. All this nonsense. So he did the smart thing.
More important than an assistant coach. Today, Danny Ainge, right, I agree. Danny Ainge said that the reason why he missed it, he had a deviated septum. He had to get surgery on a Sunday for this deviated septum. Jamel, was this a bad look?
No, this wasn't a bad look. Frankly, this is us being messy as in sports media, right?
Absolutely. That's exactly what it was. And very rarely do I agree with Jamel Hill, but I agree totally with her on this one. All this is the sports media looking for that story. It's like in junior high school or high school when a group of people know that two individuals do not like one another and they try to arrange for some type of awkward situation or showdown between the two so that they could sit back and watch and say, ooh, what's going to happen?
Right, because that's what we do. We try to take little things.
I did a little bit of that too.
You know, we try to take little things and we try to blow them out of proportion. Look, if this was about him just all of a sudden not wanting to be there for his guys, then why was he at the other games? And I realize that this is Game 7 and this is of special significance. But again, if this was Kyrie being in his feelings and worried about this team winning without him, he would never have been to the other games.
Marcel,
he would have pulled a Kawhi.
Does your teammate show up for a Game 7? Why surgery now?
Why surgery in the first place when he had the knee issue when he could have had that 2 years ago? Kyrie and his scheduling.
Well, you know what? You guys can't have it both ways. You can't ask athletes to try to push through painful issues and then say, well, how come you didn't have the surgery 2 years ago? This was pre-Isaiah Thomas. I think that the Isaiah Thomas debacle with the Boston Celtics has totally changed the injury paradigm in the NBA. Now, not only are these guys going to look for second and third opinions in regards to their injuries, but they are going to get the surgeries as soon as possible, as long as they can get corroborating information in regards to the extent of their injuries and they can get various medical opinions to agree with one another. They're not going to listen to the teams anymore, so they're going to basically do what they want, but people can't have it both ways. They can't say, why'd you wait so long to get the surgery, when the modus operandi of most athletes prior to the Isaiah Thomas issue was to try to push through it.
And the surgery's just a little bit off. I ain't mad at that part. But look,
I think like this a good calendar.
I'm going there. I got a short story, and I hope I keep it short. 8th grade, threw a basketball, hit Brian Bimbo in the nose. Brian Bimbo, my homeboy, so I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I saw it in his eyes. He wasn't mad. He was angry, furious. Chased me around the whole school for about 30 minutes. Finally, in front of my girlfriend, Davita Adams, he comes up, hit me, broke my nose. I missed a lot of time from school just because of the fact that I didn't want people to see me. And it sounds superficial. It sounds like you're caught up in the moment, but in reality, I can understand
you're
that.
Almost there. Because you are right.
Yeah. Let the alternative lifestyle Negro tell you. Let him break down what actually happened. Hated it.
He didn't want people to see him, but not because of his messy nose job. It was because he didn't want to have to deal with the fact that he knew how this story was going to end.
Talk about it.
He didn't want to have that moment when all the cameras turn to him and his team goes to the finals without him.
You're almost there, LZ Grandison. Almost there. That's kind of sort of part of it, but I don't think that Kyrie really would have cared if they would have won Game 7 as much as the alternative. What if they lose Game 7 and he has to walk up to LeBron?
And he's in the building, got to answer questions.
His nose looked fine right there.
He didn't want to have to go up to LeBron and say, good job, GOAT, my bad, I should have said.
And I've seen certain brothers comment about this in regards to Kyrie's attire. I told you brothers a long time ago. He is a student, he is an apprentice under Mr. Kobe Bryant. So whenever you see many of the more prominent athletes or entertainers going out of their way to dress in all black, they're telling you that they're part of the craft, that they're Saturnians, or they're being initiated into the Saturnian Brotherhood or the Wiccan ideological systems. Okay? But Kyrie was already going down that path anyway. He has a lot of the Buddhist or Eastern religion symbols tattooed on his body. It is what it is.
Oh, he didn't want that hug. He didn't want that
awkward moment, so I can totally believe that.
Okay, but what you said earlier when we talk about Kyrie, like, he has always been there. He seems to be the great teammate. But let's talk about that. He didn't want to say something to LeBron either way.
No,
like, he didn't want to be there
story.
either way because what? If his team would have won without him, what is that saying? And two, if they lost, he has to go up to Kyrie. I mean, he has to go up to LeBron. That's not a good look.
Or maybe he doesn't go at all. And maybe that becomes even bigger story.
Ding, ding, ding.
Pulls a Pistons and just walks off the court.
Where's the social media photo of him out and about?
That's what I'm waiting on.
No, that's not coming. Not with a deviated septum. You bring it to you.
Oh, you believe he really?
Oh, absolutely. He definitely really had the surgery, miscarriage champion. Kyrie's much more thorough than that. He's not going to make up a lie and then appear at a club on Saturday night or Sunday night like that idiot James Hardhead did last year after they lost to the San Antonio Spurs, and he had his switch turned off, and then he runs over to the damn strip club after the game, making a complete jackass of himself. Kyrie's not going to do that. He's actually going to schedule the surgery for the deviated septum when he stated that it occurred, and he's going to be chilling at his house. That's what he's going to do, because he's a three-dimensional thinker. He's thinking ahead of time.
Oh, yeah. He had the surgery. No,
because
you don't believe that?
you and Davita
That's a common surgery. That's a common surgery. And Uber has made it convenient where you can bring the party home. So where I go?
I do believe in the surgery, but I do believe that if he felt they were going to win and there was a chance to celebrate, you would have saw with the tape all on his nose and all that stuff. Instead, he didn't want to have the tape on his nose and be like, dang, LeBron.
Because he knows LeBron in Game 7.
And LeBron walked up to him like this, see ya.
That's exactly what would have happened. LeBron would have tried to walk over to him and sun him again. Kyrie, very smart man. You did the right thing, brother.
Yeah,
I'm trying to help the kid.
All right, speaking of LeBron.
But anyway, that's it on this video. We'll see what comes of the Boston Celtics next year. I think that their future is very bright, but I do believe that they have some pieces that need to be traded in order to take them to the next level. But anyway, peace.